Hello, welcome to another episode of Freelancing Fight Club. I'm Christine Ashton.
And I'm Jennifer Marsh.
We have a special guest on the podcast today. Petra is both a freelancer and a client on Upwork. Jennifer and I have gotten to know her because she frequently answers questions in the Upwork sub on reddit.com, which we will link to in the comments. And out of all the people who give advice there, I think that she is by far the most well-informed. She's helped a lot of freelancers over the years, including us, so we're lucky to have her here. Petra, can you tell us a bit about yourself? How long have you been a freelancer? What's your niche? And where do you find most of your clients?
Hi guys, I've been a freelancer for about 20 years and on Upwork since 2010, I think. I do translations and I also help clients with running teams. So like a project manager and a team manager, which I haven't been doing that much lately, but I used to do quite extensively for enterprise clients on Upwork, which also included hiring on a fairly large scale. Lately, I've been helping a client hire for more high-end technical roles, and my role was mainly to first go through all the applications, then filter them out, shortlist people, and do a first interview, which was non-technical because I'm not a very technical person, just to get rid of the people who I knew wouldn't fit in. And then the company owner would interview the last two or three I recommend and choose one of them.
Right, so you were the first line of defense then?
First and second, I would say, yes.
Cool.
In past episodes, we've talked about the crazy amount of competition on Upwork and how difficult it is for freelancers to stand out. Probably the biggest challenge, especially for new freelancers, is getting clients to read your proposals in the first place. So we've asked Petra to join us today because Christine and I haven't done much hiring on Upwork, whereas Petra has hired many freelancers on her own behalf and on behalf of her clients. She's going to be able to give you some important insights about what clients look for and the common mistakes that she sees. And we're going to get to those right now.
Right, so Petra, first of all, can you describe how the list of proposals looks from a client's perspective?
Okay, yes. You see a list, which is tiles, and you can imagine that every tile is like a mini preview of the freelancer's profile. Yeah, so the client can see the basic metrics, the freelancer's name, the location. They can see the profile picture, the profile headline, the job success score, the earnings, the rate the freelancer is proposing to do the job for, or the price, plus the first couple of lines of the freelancer's proposal. So a client actually sees quite a lot of information without even opening your proposal.
It's only if a client clicks to open more that it counts as viewed, is that right?
Exactly. The client has to click to actually read the whole proposal, but there's a function that lets you either shortlist or archive the proposal. So if I can see as a client that I will not go any further with someone's proposal because what I can see rules them out, I will archive them and then the proposal disappears from view. Now, the nasty bit about that is that the freelancer can't see that their proposal has been archived because it doesn't move into their own archived section and stays in active proposals.
So from their perspective, they think that you haven't read it at all.
Precisely. They think you haven't even looked at it. Whereas I've looked at it, I didn't think it was worth going any further with, and I've archived them. So as far as I'm concerned, they're no longer on my list.
That's interesting because I know a lot of people complain about nobody looking at proposals. How many proposals does one of your projects get? And out of those, what percentage do you open or click to read more?
It rather depends. I've hired for projects that get loads of proposals and others that get fewer because I've hired in two different sectors, basically. I found that the more specialized and detailed the job post, the fewer proposals it gets. But the quality of those proposals tends to be a lot better. So the more I give the freelancers to go on, the fewer no-hopers apply, and the more really qualified and well-expressed proposals I get as well. So I might get half the number of proposals, but twice the number of people I would like to go forward with.
So what filtering process do you use? How do you decide which proposals to open and which ones to ignore?
I go through the whole list several times, many times. With clients, it's always the case that, it has to be somewhere affordable for them. If the client says that they're not going to pay more than $50 an hour, then interviewing someone who's $200 an hour isn't going to make sense. But I also look at what they've done. One thing I can't stand is if, for example, say I want to hire a web designer and someone has accountant at the top of their profile. Now, why would I look at their proposal? I don't need an accountant. Yeah. So that's something that makes me rule people out. Any proposal that starts with "Dear Sir" or "Dear Hiring Manager" goes straight in the bin. Any proposal that starts with "regurgitating my job post" goes straight in the bin. Any proposal that is obviously written by AI goes straight in the bin. Any proposal that starts with "I help startups and businesses align or strategize" or any other AI typical meaningless garbage goes straight in the bin. And so I get less and less of proposals. So in the end, after 2 or 3 days, after a couple of days, depending on what it is, I tend to have a list of about 10 people. And I will not normally read a proposal for a day. I'm simply sorting out the ones I know I won't want to talk to again. And then after a day, I start reading the proposals, and what appeals to me then gets shortlisted. And I might run it past the client, or I might just go and do the first interview.
A lot of people think that Upwork is a race to the bottom and that clients only care about prices. How much does price matter to you? How high is too high? And what about people whose bid price is way below your expectations?
Again, it depends. When I think back to my days when I was hiring for enterprise clients, they had a fairly strict range and there wasn't an awful lot of play within that. But hiring for the technical people, I would interview people who were considerably more, and they'd be in with a chance. However, proposals that are really lowballing, I just get rid of them, because if you don't believe that you're worth anything, then you probably aren't. But I will archive proposals that if my budget is $50, for example, and you come in with $7.50, you're not what I'm looking for. I think the interesting thing about the whole idea that there is a race to the bottom or there is a market is fundamentally flawed, because Upwork isn't one market. It's like if you think about buying a watch on Amazon, you can buy a $5 watch and you can buy a $1,500 watch. There is a market for both, and both markets have their own clientele. And as long as everybody gets the watch they want and can afford, everybody is happy. The problem on Upwork is that sometimes clients can afford a $5 watch, but they want the $500 watch. And that's when expectations and reality clash in a more spectacular fashion and things go wrong.
Moving on to AI generated proposals. You did mention you skip AI generated proposals, but Have you ever once considered one? Is there ever a time that you thought, okay, this guy looks good even though his proposal is AI generated?
I may have done back in the days when I didn't recognize AI proposals. I will not entertain them now, no, not at all.
How do you know that's AI generated?
I don't know. I just do it. It's like with other things. Once you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've seen it, you've seen it. You've got 10 proposals and they all start with basically the same structure. That if you open it, they're all work the same.
Right. So it doesn't help you stand out, is the problem.
No, it's the opposite.
How much consideration do you give to badges and earnings like the Rising Talent badge or the top rated badge? Do brand new freelancers have a chance if they have no reviews and no badges?
Yes, but I'm not going to lie, their proposals have to be good. I will happily look at new freelancers because, we've all been new at some point. It depends on how risk averse the client is. It is always safer to go with someone who's got history. A new freelancer, you don't even know whether they're going to pass ID verification when they get hired. So you might have invested all that time interviewing them and checking them out and getting their credentials, and then you hire them and boom, they're gone.
Do you think it's worth it for new freelancers to get verified right off the bat before they even start sending proposals?
To be honest, it's cheap, isn't it? I mean, it's not even $5.
I would say do it because you don't want to hold up any projects or have clients
Exactly.
hesitate about hiring you, I think.
Exactly. Maybe not as soon as signing up, but if a client starts to interview you, that's the time to do it. Yeah, because if that client says, I'll hire you, you want to be verified so you can hit the ground running.
So what about freelancers whose job success score is low? Do you automatically rule out low scores? And how low is too low? I've heard from another client before that after you go below 80, you start to see quality issues. Would you say that's true?
No, it depends how that job success got that low. The first thing you want to see is how many jobs have they done? How much history
Right.
is there? For example, I'm more worried if someone has done 200 contracts and he has a JSS of 80%, than if someone has done only 3 contracts and ended up with a nasty client and so landed on 67%. I'd interview the 67% over the 80%, simply because anybody can have one bad client, especially when they're new, they might make a mistake. Whereas someone who's done 200 contracts and has 80%, they regularly screw up. They mess up 2 out of every 10 contracts.
Do you actually read the reviews to find out what clients said about them? If it seems like it's unfair, do you discount that?
If I'm interested in the freelancer, if I see bad feedback, I will click into the client and I will see what the client has done. Is that a pattern? Do they regularly give bad feedback to freelancers? Does anything in their feedback sound unreasonable or unfair? And how is the freelancer responding? I don't want to see a freelancer respond with a long, whiny history, but a short, measured rebuttal is sometimes a good idea. Or even a heartfelt apology, saying, I am sorry I let you down on this occasion. It wouldn't have happened again. I would actually go and interview someone like that.
That's really good to know because a lot of people think that they're automatically ruled out, like a JSS of even below 100% is a disaster.
No. I mean, anything over 90 is fine. But even with 90, if a freelancer has a long history with lots and lots of contracts in their calculation window, it doesn't take just 1 or 2 bad outcomes to mess up their JSS. If a freelancer is new and has only got a handful of projects done, any one bad outcome has a devastating effect. Yeah, so I wouldn't judge on a number alone. It's more nuanced than that, and I would look into it more deeply if I'm interested in the freelancer.
Have you ever hired somebody and maybe they have 100% JSS and they've been a huge disappointment and vice versa? Like you gave somebody a chance with a 67%, let's say, and you feel like you made a mistake?
Back in the day when I was hiring quite a few people, there were 2 or 3 who were not a good idea, and they had massively good metrics, and they were a huge disappointment. I haven't hired someone with 67, but I've hired someone in the upper 70s, I think, 70 something or the other, and they were fantastic. They just got one really bad client early on.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I think it's one of the hardest things about being a new freelancer, just that one client.
Yep, exactly. Freelancers should check very carefully what feedback the client gives their other freelancers, because that'll be you.
It's a good tip. So Upwork allows freelancers to boost their bids to the top of the list of proposals by auctioning off the top 4 spots to the highest bidders. Do you recommend that freelancers do this, and under what circumstances?
This is interesting. Like everything with Upwork, it really depends. The better you fit the job description and the better your proposal, the more chances boosting will give you. Because obviously, if you're at the top of the list, you are going to be seen. But no amount of boosting will get someone hired if they're not a great fit and their proposal is mediocre or bad. Just being there doesn't make me want to look at you just because you're at the top. But obviously, if you are a great fit and you're at the top, you're the first one I shortlist.
But you do read more than the first 4 proposals, right?
Oh,
Like
God.
a lot of people think that you have to boost in order to get seen at all.
No, I don't think I've ever not looked at all proposals. I may not open them. I may not read them, but I look at them. I look at everything I can see, including the first 2 lines.
So
And
you're at least glancing down the list. You're not just reading the top 10 and then stopping.
not at all. And I wait until there are a lot of proposals as well. I don't hover over a job post and wait for a freelancer to send a proposal and then jump on it and read it right away. Who's got time for that?
You see a lot of gurus on YouTube and on podcasts saying that you have to be the quickest person to apply. People get themselves tied up in knots hovering over their keyboard, trying to be as quick as possible. But you've just said that that doesn't matter to you, right?
No, not at all. It might matter if clients are hiring for kind of what I call commodity jobs. If you just want someone who can do something that requires no skill at all and just to get it done, then maybe being fast helps, because that client will just hire the first person who seems to have a pulse and a computer. But as soon as you get into any kind of skill or experience being required, you don't hover over the computer waiting for proposals to drop in. And because the client doesn't see the proposals in the order they come in, it doesn't really matter, because by the time the client comes back to the job post, they might have 50 proposals. Now, you might have been the first one to apply and you're still in 49th place because you're not being ordered in the order that the proposals came in, but by the algorithm.
Do you recommend sending a proposal if the client has already invited some freelancers to bid? What about if the job has already received more than 20 bids?
I don't think it matters, because again, the client does not see the proposals in the order they came in. Also, you can't control who applies after you. So whether I'm the 51st to apply or the first to apply, if there are 50 others that have also applied or will apply, you're still 1 in 50. So no, I really don't think being the first or the second or the third or doing it in the first 10 minutes, it doesn't work like that. Serious clients don't sit there waiting. They post the job, they go away, they do their work, they go for lunch, they come back, they take a look.
So Petra, what tips would you give freelancers who are trying to stand out on a long list of proposals?
It comes down to choosing job posts to apply to where you have a really good chance of standing out. Now, there won't be many of them, but the idea is not to take a bowl of spaghetti, throw it on the wall, and hope that something sticks. You want to be laser focused on only the job posts that are a decent rate, that give you enough information to write a very meaningful, targeted, individual proposal that tells the client, hey, I've got you. I know what you need. So the client thinks, wow, I'm seen, I'm understood.
Right.
That's the kind of proposals you should be writing.
You're the one who's going to solve their problems.
That's what's important, and nothing else really matters. Clients don't care whether you're excited to have read the job post, or whether you're passionate about whatever it is you're doing or what you want to do. They want you to tell them how you will solve their problem. And that isn't always what the client says. For example, when it's a website, they don't want a website. They want a way to reach customers and generate sales. When they want to have their website translated, they don't want a translation. They want to reach a different market, and they want to attract customers from a different culture. That's how you sell it. It's, I can hand you that foreign market. I can hand you those potential customers, because
Right.
that's what they want. They don't want a website or a translation.
So it's all about focusing on the client's end goals.
And having a bit of sass doesn't hurt either. Not too much. If the client sounds even vaguely human and receptive for that sort of thing, do build in something a little bit jokey, a little bit lighthearted.
That's where Jennifer's specialty is the sass.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
sass. It works for some people. I've been told, wow, you don't really mince words. You kind of just tell it like it is. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you pay me.
it also filters out people who wouldn't be a good fit. If they can't handle my sass, I don't want to work with them, because
Exactly.
it wouldn't go well. It's a cultural thing as well. There are cultures in which clients would react very badly to that. But then I wouldn't apply to their job, because they and I wouldn't be on the same wavelength.
I do think there's a cultural divide sometimes where I could tell this person isn't going to like my personality. And if they don't, it's not going to work. Yeah, I agree. So we often hear freelancers complain about fake jobs or ghost jobs, which is when clients post projects and then disappear without hiring anyone or even reading any of the proposals. As a client, have you ever posted a job on Upwork and ended up not hiring? Do you have any thoughts on why this happens?
Yeah, it has happened. Things happen. Sometimes a project simply goes away, so they don't need a freelancer anymore. I've also had a job post out and then get a message from a previous freelancer I've worked with in the past and who I really liked, but had forgotten about. And the message said, hey, I can do that for you. Why didn't you message me? And I'm like, oh God, sorry. Let me write you an offer right now. Or someone in the client's company decides to do it, or they hire via a totally different platform, or they've had the job on LinkedIn.
As a freelancer yourself with a high success rate, do you have any tips for people who are trying to judge which projects are more likely to result in being hired?
It's difficult, because it seems in my niche that doesn't appear to be this huge amount of job posts that aren't being hired for. I actually went through my last 10 proposals, and 8 of them hired, and 2 of them hired me. It's not that it's all across the board that there are so many job posts that never end up hiring or reading proposals. I write very good proposals. I interview really well. So if I get an interview, I generally get the job more often than not. I also don't apply on low value contracts. It takes the same amount of effort to write a proposal for a $50 project as it does for a $500 project. My average contract value is around the $1,500 range. Whether it costs 20 connects or 30 connects or 50 connects, it doesn't really matter, because compared to 1,500, it's a drop in the ocean. it matters more for freelancers who are going for small projects and haven't got a decent hire rate, then obviously their return on investment is going to be lousy. So basically, fewer proposals, better proposals, go for the bigger jobs.
It's great advice.
Yeah. We'd like to thank Petra for giving us her time today. If you have any questions, she can frequently be found giving advice on the Upwork sub on Reddit. We'll post a link in the comments. There's also an excellent proposal writing guide on Reddit, so we'll link to that as well.
In our next episode, we're going to discuss some common misconceptions that people have about Upwork. So please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to be notified when that's available. And thank you for listening. And thank you to Petra.
Thank you for having me.